I'm planning on going back to UFC.
You do?
If they'll have me, I would like to go back and fucking whoop someone's ass there.
Well, who would you want to, if it was offered? Justin Gaethje, it sounds like.
I'm not fighting at 55 though, but right now I'm not fighting in there because there's nobody to fight really. Kind of slow rolling.
But UFC would.
I don't really have a name in mind right now in the UFC. That's why I'm not there right now in West.
But the name, the draw, the excitement that you'd bring to it, I feel like it's really lacking in UFC. Everybody's
That's
rushing, everybody's
I'd
wrestling.
be there if there was somebody that I wanted to go fight. But
I want to see the rubber match with Conor McGregor.
With time for sure. Yeah, whenever he's back. Me and him for sure got unfinished.
If there's another fight that would sell and it would be huge, it would be that. It would be Diaz 3.
Oh yeah.
That could be, especially if Diaz gets past Poirier.
Yes.
Even if he doesn't. I mean, just that fight alone. I mean, there's the history between those two guys. I mean, that would be.
And it's so appealing stylistically as well. The fight, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'm a grappler at heart. I love grappling, but I also understand that a jiu-jitsu tournament will put people to sleep. You know, even if you're into jiu-jitsu, it's hard to watch a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yes.
But anybody can see a punch hitting someone in the head and then falling down. That's that's exciting. And him and Diaz is such a great personality matchup. It's such a great skill clash. You know, if I was to design somebody that's going to bring the best out of Conor, you'd want someone that, you know, can hit back and take a big shot and put up at the trash. It's a beautiful fight. I would love to see that rematch.
Yeah, the thing about Diaz when they first fought was that he didn't give a fuck about trash talk. It didn't bother him at all.
Researchers have just dropped some heavy findings that prove social media goes way beyond being just another time waster. We're talking about actual physical changes happening inside your skull right now, and this isn't some loose theory they're throwing around. They've measured the real deal, your dopamine receptors, those critical brain structures that control how you experience reward, motivation, and happiness. What they found will blow your mind, direct measurable connections between your scrolling habits and legitimate structural changes in these receptors. We're looking at hard neuroscience here, people. This goes way deeper than just thinking it affects you. This is about what's actually happening to your brain tissue.
Being talked to headline the White House card. I don't buy it. I can't buy it. Why are we would be turning to Conor McGregor? And the answer is also out there because he is the sport's biggest star. That is true. So is that what you need? If you've got the open checkbook and you've got the magic wand, without saying names, do you say, I'm going to put as my main event the sport's biggest star? Is that your answer? Doesn't matter who he's fighting. What if it's a championship match? You have an open checkbook and you have a magic wand and you don't use any names, but you're going to put the championship on. Would you say heavyweight? Would you say women's 135? Would you say wherever Kazmat Chimaev's at? Like, how is it that you would answer that question? And then what if you're really going to go for a big fight? What if you really follow this for a long time? You're going to do what we used to call a super fight, but now we call it title versus title.
Here's where Nate Diaz showed exactly who he is, completely straightforward, zero games, no dancing around the subject when that White House opportunity got brought up. We're dealing with what could be the biggest fight card in history here. While everyone else in the business was throwing around different opponent names for the event, Conor McGregor was the one and only fighter that grabbed Diaz's attention. No smooth talking, no marketing pitches, just the raw truth. If it's not McGregor across from him in that cage, then no other fighter even registers on Nate Diaz's radar. He's basically said, count me in, but only for that guy. The long-awaited third chapter of this legendary rivalry isn't just some wishful thinking anymore. There's real momentum building behind the scenes, quietly but powerfully waiting for that perfect moment when it has to go down. No need for official confirmation, no complex negotiations required. Everyone, and I mean absolutely everyone, the fans, the fighters, the analysts, already understands exactly why this fight needs to happen. It's destiny calling, folks. Final White House card, like he mentioned. You want that kind of situation. Yeah, but the whole thing is, when you break it down from every possible angle, that specific matchup, that historic trilogy would have been so absolutely perfect. You know, like it just made complete sense, the type of massive clash that lights up an entire sport. Consider all the storylines, the rivalry, the pure undeniable magnetism of both fighters involved. Everything aligns perfectly, guaranteeing an unforgettable show.
At least that's happening and getting something to talk about, something to watch, and I'm looking forward to that fight actually.
Now fans want it.
The Monday Paul should be good, and then because what else are you looking forward to? Hurry up.
Nothing.
Hurry up. What else?
This isn't about some random beginner fighter. This is nobody's business.
Now fans want you versus McGregor 3. Do you want that fight?
Yeah, for sure. What?
But it's not completely dead in the water either. Here's where the situation gets more complicated. Dana White, the UFC president, jumped in and basically threw cold water all over this immediate trilogy talk. He stressed time, and I mean time itself, as the absolute deciding factor in this lightning-fast, completely unpredictable business. Just think about this reality and really absorb it. One single year in this incredibly dynamic, high-pressure sport. Really sit with that thought. Just 12 months in mixed martial arts can, and often does, totally transform the entire playing field. This becomes especially relevant since McGregor has only hinted at a potential comeback. While Diaz has definitely expressed strong desire to compete again, nothing official has been locked down. White made it clear that any sense of certainty right now is basically pointless, almost foolish. The UFC itself, its complex scheduling system, the current champions, even the organization's main strategic goals, all of it can shift dramatically overnight. He delivered a reality check. By the time next July 4th arrives, the entire fighting landscape could look so completely different that our current conversations, all this thrilling speculation, might be totally irrelevant. So to be clear, the amazing concept of McGregor versus Diaz III isn't dead, not even close. But it's definitely not near enough to be officially scheduled, approved, and announced today. It's hanging in the balance, folks, waiting for time to tell its story.
McGregor said he's back in the pool. Nate Diaz said he would love to be the opponent. Are you interested in that trilogy?
That fight's a year away. Landscape will change so much by next 4th of July. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows who's going to be on the card? What the main event will be, or who will hold all the titles? Everything could be completely different. So it's not even worth thinking about it right now.
Now, unlike Dana White's more careful, practical wait-and-see approach, Michael Bisping, with his trademark bluntness, immediately looked past the current conversations, directly to what he considers the obvious, undeniable truth of the matter. For Bisping, there's absolutely no hesitation. No debate, no middle ground. His position is rock solid. If Nate Diaz actually returns to the Octagon, and if Conor McGregor does step back into the cage, then, and this is a massive emphatic then, that particular matchup is, without question, the fight that has to happen every single time. It stands, in his opinion, beyond any reasonable doubt. Their rivalry, he passionately argues, already sits incredibly high, ranked among the greatest, most beloved feuds in all of UFC history. And by placing such a significant crowd-pleasing fight on a White House card, an event already designed with historical significance in mind, it wouldn't just be a highlight, it would instantly define the unmatched scale and create the perfect electric atmosphere for the whole event, especially considering it positioned alongside other probable massive matchups crowning the card's peak. The logic here, you can see, goes far beyond simple fight promotion or basic marketing. He argues that while McGregor doesn't exactly need another fight to cement his already enormous legacy or his financial success, the natural competitive drive that defines a true warrior, that burning desire for just one more moment of combat, that unstoppable hunger for a truly epic battle, is so incredibly powerful that it makes McGregor's involvement on a card this monumentally historic feel almost inevitable. It's a fighter's heart calling.
Diaz was to come back. But if he was, and if Conor McGregor does actually make it back, I think that's the fight to make all day long. The one-on-one, there were some of the biggest fights in UFC history. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor at the White House would be absolutely insane. It probably will have Tom Aspinall versus John Jones in the main event. It probably will have Conor McGregor versus someone, Michael Chandler or Nate Diaz, in the co-main event. So that just kind of sets the tone for how big that card would be. What do you think? Do you think Conor McGregor will actually make it back? Of course, he hasn't fought since 2021, right? It's going to be 5 years since he last fought. I, for one, fair play to the guy. Fair play, man. Respect. He doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to come back. He's got lots of other avenues and ways to make money. But fighting is something that never leaves you, okay? It's a part of who you are. It's in your DNA. It's part of your soul. And he wants to come back and he wants to get his hands raised in victory. Of course, he wants to come back and be a part of
Bisping, always the sharp analyst, definitely didn't stop his analysis there. No way. He then expanded his perspective even further, skillfully shifting the entire conversation from individual personal rivalries to the much broader realm of pure authentic entertainment and what actually drives the sport forward. If we're really talking about superfluites, those rare, truly game-changing battles that can fundamentally shift the entire sport's direction, he specifically mentioned Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira as, and I quote, "the ultimate fight that would definitely be on everyone's radar." And here's exactly why. He explains Pereira's incredible meteoric rise through the rankings, his obvious undeniable star power, and the amazing, almost unbelievable boldness of his accomplishments across multiple divisions make the very idea of him facing a legend like Jones seem almost unreal. Honestly, like something pulled directly from a high-stakes video game. It is strongly argued that if Pereira could somehow pull off a victory against an established legend like Jones, it would be much more than just a regular win. No, he would permanently establish a legacy for himself, an untouchable position in history that no other fighter in MMA history has ever even gotten close to, much less achieved. However, at the same time, Bisping carefully grounded his comments in the harsh, unforgiving reality. He recognizes that Conor McGregor, in a highly anticipated battle against Michael Chandler, remains as the officially expected path forward at this moment. But he offered an important caveat, a vital but to remember: once the complicated elements of politics, the ever-present power struggles, and intricate personal relationships inevitably come into play, even the most firmly established course of action, the most unshakable plans, could suddenly, without notice, change direction entirely. Nothing's guaranteed until it's done in this game.
If we're talking about super fights, if we're talking about something that's really going to get the MMA world excited, then it would be Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira, right? Alex Pereira is one of the biggest stars. He came back in style and destroyed Magomed Ankalaev. The man's phenomenal. He's unbelievable. He's a two-weight division champion. What he's achieved in this sport is ridiculous. If he was to face Jon Jones, and if he was to beat him, then I guess he would go on and fight for the third belt, and that'd be it. That'd be set in stone. Alex Pereira would, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, be the greatest mixed martial artist to ever compete. Simple as that. There's no one that's fought for 3 belts or won 3 belts. Just the thought of that alone is crazy. I mean, it took me about, 26 fights in the UFC to even get 1 title shot. So they're not easy to come by. Anyway, so there's that. Now they're talking about Conor McGregor fighting Michael Chandler. That's going to be the fight that happens. We all know about that. There's nothing new there. And the thing is, if Donald Trump wants it, if the President of the United States wants it, and as Eric says in that video, him and Dana...
Meanwhile, another consistently insightful MMA expert clearly and expertly steered the entire discussion to the essential elements of timing and practical reality, particularly keeping it firmly rooted in the passionate perspective of the dedicated fans. He directly stated that the next truly compelling fight to watch, the bout everyone will be talking about for years, absolutely depends on Nate Diaz earning an unmistakable dominant statement victory, a huge, undeniable triumph in the welterweight division. He stressed that only then does the highly anticipated trilogy with McGregor truly become a spectacle worthy of that grand White House stage. Currently, the passionate fans seem somewhat split, floating names like Masvidal or maybe Glover Teixeira for potential opponents, which demonstrates the range of possible matchups. But here's what's really fascinating. Many leading voices within the sport, like veteran journalists such as the always insightful Ariel Helwani and others, are quietly but firmly leaning toward the compelling prospect of Diaz against McGregor as the upcoming headliner that everyone secretly, or maybe not so secretly, wants to see happen. The excitement is building. Folks, it's just waiting for the perfect timing.
I want to see next, okay? If Nate Diaz comes back and gets a big win over someone in the welterweight division, okay? And he does it impressively, and then the McGregor fight happens, that's when I'm interested. But right now, I feel like the hardcore fans are kind of in mutual agreement that it's Masvidal or Gaethje. To us, it's kind of Masvidal or Gaethje, and for Chael Sonnen and Ariel Helwani to both say that they think Nate Diaz trilogy should be next is strange to me. Very strange to me, because I would love to see either Gaethje or Masvidal. I feel like everyone's in agreement here. We've seen that Donald Cerrone has been beaten by Conor McGregor in his return at UFC 2.
On a totally different yet equally fascinating subject, Chael Sonnen, ever outspoken and famous for his brutally honest takes, boldly cut through all the wild speculation surrounding Conor McGregor potentially headlining the White House event. He brought a much-needed healthy dose of skepticism to the conversation. He openly admitted quite reasonably that McGregor is, without dispute, the sport's biggest, most magnetic star, and honestly, that's an indisputable reality that even his harshest critics can't deny. But Sonnen argued that McGregor's celebrity status alone doesn't automatically make him the ideal choice for such a prestigious main event. Sonnen then took us on a fascinating mental exercise, carefully outlining how he would construct a dream card if given unlimited resources were at his disposal. He posed important, challenging questions. Would you prioritize an exciting title fight or maybe a huge heavyweight clash? What about a compelling women's bantamweight bout, or possibly the ultimate, a super fight putting champion versus champion? His core argument was completely clear, and it's an essential one for any promoter really. Star appeal definitely matters, it brings viewers, but the much bigger, more important question is whether that star power actually creates an engaging fight that truly delivers impact, capturing the public's imagination and drawing massive viewership. It's about the combat, not just the celebrity.
Conor McGregor is being talked to headline the White House card. I don't buy it. I can't buy it. Why are we be turning to Conor McGregor? And the answer is also out there, because he is the sport's biggest star. That is true. So is that what you need? If you've got the open checkbook and you've got the magic wand, without saying names, do you say, I'm going to put as my main event the sport's biggest star? Is that your answer? Doesn't matter who he's fighting. What if it's a championship match? If you have an open checkbook and you have a magic wand and you don't use any names, but you're going to put the championship on, would you say heavyweight? Would you say women's 135? Would you say wherever Kazmat Chimaev's at? Like, how is it that you would answer that question? And then what if you're really going to go for a big fight? What if you really follow this for a long time? You're going to do what we used to call a super fight, but now we call it title versus title.
Sonnen didn't stop his sharp analysis there. Oh no, he also broke down why all the current McGregor talk regarding this historic event seems even more questionable and maybe a bit premature. It creates an interesting, almost absurd contradictory scenario. Just imagine this for a second. McGregor competing in mid-2025 on a fight card actually scheduled for 2026 at a location that doesn't even exist yet, with tickets nowhere near being available. When you look at it that way, he strongly argued, it starts to really strain credibility, making it seem less like a realistic plan and more like pure wishful thinking. The core problem, as Sonnen firmly maintained, is this. If Conor holds no current belt or isn't actually competing for a title, then by making him the clear main event, it naturally and problematically suggests that the event's biggest attraction won't be fighting for the ultimate prize. Put another way, a McGregor fight without a championship closing an event of this monumental significance makes that enormous hype, that overarching narrative, much harder to actually sell to audiences. Even if theoretically 2 other legitimate title fights are strategically placed on the rest of the card, it just fundamentally undermines the main event's overall impact and storytelling power.
And it's one of the reasons that I'm struggling with the idea that McGregor is being penciled in the middle of 2025 for a card that sits dead center in the middle of 2026 at a venue yet to be built, for tickets that are yet to be on sale. I struggle with it because we're openly saying, if we're going to put Conor on there, that there's no title. Unless you believe that Conor McGregor is going to demote himself, right? The biggest draw should be the main event. Your biggest star, regardless of belt, should be the main event. But in this case, if our biggest draw and our biggest star is not a champion or a contender in any weight class, we're going to acknowledge up front that our biggest show will not contain a title, which makes it a little difficult down the road to go, this show's bigger than big. In fact, we got 2 titles up. Yes, you heard me, there's 2 titles. When can you ever get that? And nothing more important than
And just when you think the debates couldn't get any more intense than when Ben Askren, in his characteristically direct and undeniably harsh style, absolutely unleashed a huge controversy bomb. This wasn't just commentary. This was a declaration destined to create lasting debate, a permanent source of argument. Askren claimed quite boldly that Nate Diaz, despite being heavily marketed and genuinely beloved by a massive, fiercely devoted fan base, was in his expert opinion simply an average fighter. He suggested Diaz had this incredible, almost magical ability for promoting himself as a top-tier elite competitor, regardless of what the record might show. He backed up this claim by pointing to Diaz's rather modest win-loss numbers both during his long career in the UFC and in other organizations. Askren deliberately framed Diaz's massive popularity as more stemming from clever brand building and masterful promotion than a true reflection of consistent, high-level performance inside the Octagon. But he didn't just end his controversial comments there. Askren also suggested, with a mischievous knowing smile, that expressing this viewpoint so publicly would almost definitely trigger a huge, relentless social media storm from Diaz's extremely passionate, fiercely loyal fans. So whether you absolutely love Ben Askren for his brutal honesty or completely hate him for his constantly provocative takes, this much is guaranteed: his bold declaration is definitely going to spark an intense, heated conversation throughout the entire MMA community for days if not weeks to come. It's going to be chaos.
He is the most puzzling. He's not. I don't even think he's that good. I'll go get his record if you want me to. But he has convinced people he is good at fighting somehow, some way.
He's pretty good.
I'm gonna go get his damn record, Daniel. It's not.
But he won the Ultimate Fighter. He won the Ultimate Fighter. I'm saying he was good for the time that he was fighting.
No, he wasn't. He was average.
He was. Yeah. Okay. I'm just.
Okay.
Trying
I'm gonna go get the record. I'm gonna go get the record. They're gonna yell at me. I know this. Okay. Let's see. Well, his record is 21-13.
Oh my God. Really?
Yes, that's not that great.
Okay, I take it back. I'm taking it back.
And he was and going into the UFC, he was, I think it was 5-1. So within the UFC, he was 16-12.
That's not good.
That's not very good.
That's not good. There's really no way to twist that into good.
Yeah. So but you know, his personality. That's another one's like, how did his personality catch on? He says funny things sometimes. He's a little bit different. I don't. Yeah. And listen, if you post this clip, please don't post this clip.
Now let's shift dramatically to the broader, incredibly detailed conversation about who actually should headline the White House lineup, incorporating a wide range of expert perspectives. Starting off, Daniel Cormier weighed in, recognizing Jon Jones's impressive move to heavyweight. But Cormier is completely unwavering in his belief that Jones's best performance, and more crucially, the fight that fans really want to see, stays firmly at light heavyweight. He identified an absolutely thrilling potential matchup with Alex Pereira at 205 pounds as perfectly designed for that epic White House extravaganza. Cormier acknowledged that Jones has certainly added significant muscle throughout his career, becoming a legitimate heavyweight threat. But he's convinced that cutting the required weight to reach the 205-pound limit remains totally doable for Jones, thus preserving the realistic possibility of that ultimate dream fight. At the same time, Jon Anik, using his typical blend of realism and deep fan understanding, clearly laid out his own detailed vision for the White House fight lineup. He firmly suggested that the main event should feature the undisputed heavyweight championship, likely with Tom Aspinall defending his title versus the dangerous Cyril Gane, while acknowledging that the huge buzz around Jon Jones against Alex Pereira is still a somewhat risky pick for the headliner spot. For the co-main event, and it carefully outlined an exciting bantamweight title fight between the Machine, the unstoppable Merab Dvalishvili, and another elite challenger. He expressed genuine hope that by the time June 14th comes around, fans could potentially witness an unprecedented 4 or even 5 undisputed championships contested right there on those legendary White House grounds, which honestly would create a truly absolutely historic spectacle if all those intricate pieces somehow fall into place. And not to be outdone, Brendan Schaub then revealed what he enthusiastically calls a dream card, a lineup so loaded with star power and incredible matchups, it would definitely make any MMA fan completely go crazy with anticipation. He absolutely packed it with big names, like the explosive Ilia Topuria, the dominant Islam Makhachev, the always entertaining Sean Strickland, the previously mentioned knockout king Alex Pereira, and obviously Jon Jones, along with the epic McGregor vs. Diaz showdown. Schaub called it exactly the type of lineup he would gladly pay top dollar to watch without hesitation, and he didn't even stop with the main events. He argued that even the undercard, featuring wrestling phenoms like Gable Steveson and Bo Nickal, would be absolute must-watch television, with Michael Chandler also included, completing what he describes as a card so incredible, a show with such quality, it could by itself permanently change fan expectations for MMA events forever. But contrary to all that hopeful planning, Henry Cejudo shared his thoughts on the biggest potential matchups for the White House card, and predictably spoke his truth directly. From a star-studded list of possible fights including Alex Pereira against John Jones, John Jones against Tom Aspinall, Jones against Francis Ngannou, and McGregor against Michael Chandler, Cejudo strongly endorsed Jones against Aspinall. For Cejudo, this involves more than just rankings or titles. It carries deeper significance. It represents the 250th anniversary of America, featuring a monumental clash of legacies, pitting a true all-time great against the formidable current heavyweight champion. From his extremely insightful perspective, that particular bout isn't just big, it's the only fight with the power to truly define the entire card and elevate it to legendary status. So after hearing all these incredible perspectives, what's your take? Do you think Nate Diaz will actually make that epic comeback to face Conor McGregor? Or is McGregor maybe setting up another opponent for his return? Make sure to drop all your thoughts and predictions, your wildest theories in the comments section below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all the latest updates, because trust me, you don't want to miss a single moment of this constantly developing, absolutely insane story.